So terms, attachments, display the list of all attachments uploaded. From here, you can add, edit, download, and export your attachments. You can also see all transactions linked to a particular attachment. So we have our attachments. No attachments are currently in here, but the attachments could be useful when we saw some of our forms that you might want an attachment to it. So one common example would be, what if you, like a lot of times when we buy things these days, we don't have to deal with the sales, like the receipts like we used to. In other words, before we had electronic transfers driving most transactions, we had cash transactions. And if you bought something with cash, then you needed the receipt, because if you were audited, say, by the IRS and you took a deduction for an expense, they're going to want evidence. And just seeing a decrease to the checking account without having any indication on who you paid wasn't good enough, right? So you have to give them a receipt, and then we have to upload all the receipts and this kind of stuff. These days, most people don't deal with cash as much, which has its pros and cons. If we can get our clients and ourselves doing electronic transfers, then we don't need to do as many attachments. We don't need to add all these receipts into our system, most likely, or less likely to need to do that, because we have the record, not only that cash came out of our accounts, but who we paid it to. So it's a little bit more transparent that way. But even under that system, you can still imagine when you would want attachments. For example, if you bought equipment, and you bought like 5 computers or something like that, then you might want to attach the invoice of the 5 computers, because you're not just going to record it as an expense, you're going to record it as an asset. And you maybe want to give this information to your tax preparer, so when they put it on the books on the depreciation schedule, they don't put it on as one lump sum purchase of equipment, because when they do that, you won't be able to sell one of the computers or dispose of one computer. It'll become a problem in the future. So one way you could use the attachments that I would think is quite relevant is anytime you buy equipment, you make sure to take the sales document and possibly financing terms, so that at the end of the year, the tax preparer can properly put the breakout of the 5 computers, the numbers of the computers, if there's identification numbers, serial numbers, so that you can identify each of the computers, so that when you dispose of them later, you won't have a big mess and a big problem, and possibly give them any financing information, so that they can also then create possibly the amortization schedules, break out the interest payment portions, and possibly break out short-term and long-term payments of any loans, as well as deal with any trade-ins or anything like that. So that would be useful. So how would you do that? One way, usually if you go into, like, you make a purchase with an expense form, for example, you have down here add attachments, right? So now we can add the attachment, which is going to be in the list of attachments, and it will also be linked to this particular form. And if this form was used to create the financial statements in the assets list, fixed assets, then if you give this information to your accountant, sharing it with the accountant view, they can drill down on the increases to the property, plant, and equipment, and possibly pull the appropriate reports, giving them the more information necessary to make their depreciation schedules. Let's see what else we got. Okay, let's close this out. Let's go into the plus button. Almost there. We have tags. Display the list of all tags created. You can add, edit, and delete your tags here. So the tags are a cool type of tracking tool. So we have a whole other course or section on tags, but the general idea is that you might want to give more sorting data into your reports, tracking different items within your reports. And you could use class tracking to do that. You could use location tracking to do that. And you could use tags to do that. And you can basically think of these as giving you usually like an income statement that would be breaking out columns. So if I go to the income statement, you can think of, instead of breaking out this year by year, I can think of different columns per tag. So possibly I have a tag for sales reps or something like that. And maybe it can break out a column that has been transactions in it that have been tagged for sales reps and so on and so forth. Now there's some differences between when you might use tags versus location tracking versus class tracking. So all those options are really, and projects is another one, that all of those things are super cool things and specialized items, but they also get a little bit confusing because there's some overlap in terms of how you can use them functionality wise. So you want to think about, if you want to break these things out and track some things like with tags, you want to just make sure you think about, well, would it be better for me to use class tracking? Do I have class tracking versus tags based on the level of software that I'm using? Meaning you might have to pay more for some functionality such as class tracking, for example, but if you're using it, it might be worth it, and so on and so forth. So that gives you some more tracking. We have, again, a whole nother course or section on it, which these things are usually going over and above simply just tracking for, creation of the financial statements. In other words, you don't need tags for normal double entry accounting system data input. It would be for more specialized tracking customization.